Hi, everybody. It's Craig from Doc Sports back with your Docs Daily for the 15th of January. Man, all you got to do to get in, very simple on our plays. Go over to the website, use that free 60. I got a free $60 account. It is docsports.com/free 60. So go over there and use that to get in. If you want to get in, of course, on my top plays today, I have a top play. It's a prop. I don't have a lot of top plays and props, maybe twice a month. 6-unit play today. We're on a nice 7-2 run the last 3 days overall. So let's keep it going. The props on the last 10 days are like 5-2, I think. So it's been really good, but I really like this one. So stepping out today on a 6-unit there. Other than that, just a 4-unit plays today. So make sure you check it out. Go over at the website. But if you want in on, of course, any of the others, you can go over there under the grid and see who all is available and what. I think there's a couple 8-unit plays today. I believe August Young, I believe, has an 8-unit, and I believe Griffin 8-unit. Robert, help me here. College basketball or NBA?
Yep.
Yeah,
college basketball.
Yeah.
Yep.
I knew it was hoops. I couldn't remember. I actually looked at both what they like. That was almost, it was this close to being, I don't do a ton of NHL, but when I do, I was like, I was this close to releasing that place. I was like, oh, I like that.
It's bold. It's certainly a bold pick.
Yeah.
I worry about some of the movement there, but he likes it and he's shooting a shot. So you got to trust your guys.
And we don't have a lot of these, like the 8 units. He's probably his only play you'll have for a few months as far as the hockey. So make sure you get on. All right. Crazy night last night, Robert. College basketball, it was kind of like, was there 13, 12 ranked games yesterday? Only one today, Gonzaga, only today. Yesterday, I wasn't shocked that the North Carolina loss. I wasn't shocked at the Vanderbilt loss. I was kind of shocked that Duke struggled for a long bit. But was there any other game out there that you kind of were, scratching your head?
No, North Carolina gave that one away. Yeah. They really controlled that game for the overwhelming majority of it. So a little surprised that they choked down the stretch. Other than that, Arizona State hanging around with Arizona. I thought 22 points was too much.
Crazy, yeah.
But Arizona's not really a team that I'm looking to jump in front of. We're seeing a lot of these teams. The odds makers get a little lazy, okay? And that's what we're seeing now. Like these monster numbers with Michigan, with Gonzaga, with Arizona, even with a team like Georgia yesterday laying double digits at home. All those numbers are just based on the metrics and statistics from the first 2 months of the season, okay? So these team like Georgia beat up on a lot of mighty mites and a lot of weak sisters.
Yes.
So their numbers, like their net ranking, their KenPom ranking, like they're like a top 25 team by the metrics. They are not a top 25 team. Like they're not that good, but they're getting that type of respect. Arizona, what they did to some of the teams in the non-conference back in November and December, that's why they're 20-plus point favorites, 18-point favorites in all these games. But as we're seeing, teams are starting to find themselves a little bit. Teams are starting to get a little bit more chemistry, and the margin of error is shrinking in conference play. So there's just, to me, no point in laying like those big numbers in league play.
Well, I think the SEC especially, we saw it in football, we definitely see it in basketball, with so many teams in your league. It's like, oh, you're 3-0 in the SEC. It's like, okay, well, you didn't play anybody. Or you're 2-1, and it's like, yeah, but the one you played, for example, Georgia, you got blitzed by what was Florida, I believe. So it was like we're starting to see that work out as you start to play tougher teams in the schedule. I thought one of the I liked Missouri last night. They got it done. I thought that was a nice win. Did you see the Arkansas? You see?
Yeah, that was, again, just kind of kicking myself. Like I was going back and forth between them and Purdue, which one I was going to make my highest rated play. Didn't have a big play. I loved Arkansas. I just had a feeling they have a really strong home court advantage, and they had not just gone rip shit ride on anybody in a while. I had a feeling that was coming, especially because South Carolina plays everybody close, right? Like they've done that for the last 2 years. They just play people tight. Staring at that number all morning, I was like, this might be a bloodbath. I used it, of course, and won, but it should have been a much bigger play.
The best is after the game, they're interviewing Calipari, and he's like, Auburn's a good team. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And then someone goes, Auburn got beat by 10 or whatever. And he was like, I mean, it was like he didn't know what to say because he was trying to like basically prop himself up that, like
yeah, like, why that loss was okay. Well, I mean, again, it was. There's not a huge discrepancy between those teams. Like Missouri beating Auburn. Okay, I did a free play video on this the other day. Missouri is 28-2 at home over the last 2 years.
They've been good.
They don't lose at home, man. Like that's it. If that game had been in Auburn yesterday, Missouri probably loses by 10. You know what I mean? Like some of these conferences, the major conferences, I don't feel like home court advantage is playing as big as it is in some of the smaller conference, Missouri Valley, Mountain West, some of the West Coast smaller conferences. But there are still teams that are like that, like Missouri, where you're just like, you know what? They're just a completely different team at home.
The SEC in general, I mean, Tennessee, you just go down. Even the good teams to the bad teams, they're all unbelievable at home. And on the road, it is 50-50. And it doesn't really matter the rankings. Sometimes you got to cover up the rankings because the rankings can affect your mindset. You can see let's just say if Arkansas was on the road tonight and they're facing a team that's not ranked, and just because they have that little number 13 or 14 or 15 in front of them, all of a sudden in your mind, you're like, this is a lot better team. It's like, take that out of your mind because on the road, it's just a different beast, especially now all the schools are basically back in session now. So now we've got,
students are back. You get that home group. That's kind of why I love Purdue.
So it's cold. That's the only thing to do on a lot of these campuses is go to the basketball game. So it's a party fest and it's a huge home court edge.
Kind of why I liked Purdue last night. I thought that they would get a little bump. Same thing. Like they just haven't laid into anybody in a while. They're not playing well. And you mentioned about Duke. Like Duke has been taking on water here for the last few weeks. Like Duke is not this unstoppable force that people think they are. Like they almost lost at home to Georgia Tech. That was a 2-point game with 2 minutes left.
They were down like 8 in the first half at home, right?
Right. Like they did not play well at Florida State. They only won that game by like 4 or 5. Florida State turns on and lose by 40 in the next game. Like Florida State's not a good team. They blew that 20-point lead to Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a good team, no problem. But if you're up 20 points at home and you're like this juggernaut team that everyone expects them to be, you at least win that game, right? So Duke over the last 5 weeks, like the cracks are really starting to show with them.
Well, it's a very similar team to last year. I always say when your best players are big guys, I think that's a problem because if your best player is a guard, you can just be like, go get me a basket, kind of thing. Sometimes a big guy, you could just front him and play a help side, and now you got to force the guards to beat you. Not saying they don't have good guards. I mean, dude, they have it's McDonald's All-Americans all over the place. But eventually that can hurt you. And I still think we have not seen a freshman-laden team win a championship since what? I guess the Kentucky team, right? With Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
I mean, that team played
five. That would really be the only one.
Yep. And I think it's only
freshmen play big roles on championship teams. But in terms of, to your point, just freshman dominated teams winning championships, it doesn't happen. And it's not going to happen this year. Like I haven't seen
it's going to be harder because with the NIL now there's a lot of teams playing 22, 23-year-olds, 3 of those versus 18-year-old kids. I don't care how great your 18-year-old kid is. That's a big step up, and that's a different class. And not saying it can't be done. I don't see it being done.
Duke's not going to win the national championship this year. Let's put it that way. That's not like a huge take. You know what I mean? Like you're giving me 364 teams.
I don't know if they'll make the Final Four
versus Duke, but yeah, that's what I'm seeing out of them. I see a really, really good team, but a team that can definitely get sniped in the tournament. They're just
win
not.
6 games. That's the problem. 6 games. If it was 3 games, okay. I think they could win 3 or 4, get you to like the Elite 8. I don't think they'll be in the Final Four. I think this is the most wide open we've seen college basketball in a long time. Yes, everybody's saying Michigan, Arizona. I agree, but we saw Arizona last night struggle. Now that's a rivalry game, so just throw the records out the window. Michigan, I was shocked the way they lost the game. Last night, I kind of thought would be a letdown spot on the road. I thought they'd win, but they kind of – it was 9-10 at half. They pulled away. Really,
it was 9.5, and then they just were kind of a no-show in the second half. They didn't shoot the ball well. They shot like 5 for 25 from 3-point range. Like they really should have. Same thing. If Michigan is just this juggernaut team, that people think that they are. And I do think that Michigan is one of the three best teams. They should have laid into Washington. Like, Washington was missing Yates and Claude. They're the two transfers from USC. Like, they were the reason that Washington was going to be kind of a sneaky underdog team in the middle of that Big Ten, is because they had two double-digit scorers transferring from USC with the guys that they have. Both those guys are hurt. Like, Washington's playing like their B team yesterday, and Michigan, off of a loss, couldn't like find that extra gear against them. So again, you're just seeing all these teams that were monster favorites because of what they did, in November in a tournament. You just catch a team on a bad day in November and you can beat a good team by 20 or 30 points. That's just not the case in conference play now.
I can't wait for Michigan State, Michigan. I think that is going to be an awesome game. That is like, there's not a whole lot of games that anymore that I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it's different now with the transfers, because you don't build these like 3-year rivalries where these players are just like, the JJ Redicks that you just learn to hate, like if you're the other team, or even just fans in general. We don't see that with Michigan or Michigan State, but I still think this is going to be, of the rivalry games this year, that's the one I'm dying to see.
That's at the end of the month. It's on a Friday. That's a Friday night game.
Oh, dude.
It's the first meeting is in Michigan State, okay? And Michigan has to play Nebraska right before that. So big advantage where Michigan State gets Rutgers right before that. Now they're on the road at Rutgers. Okay. And the rat can be a little bit tricky. So, you're going to have a Michigan State team laying double digits at Rutgers right before they take on Michigan. I'll take the points, please. But Michigan gets to host Nebraska, who's been obviously on a heater, right before they play Michigan State. So big.
What do you feel about Nebraska? I love, first of all, if you'd have told me when Fred Hoiberg took that job, I was like, dude, well, first of all, I didn't think he'd win at Iowa State. So he won there. Then he obviously didn't do well in the NBA. He comes back and I'm like, I would have just, if I was him, I would just sit out, wait for the Iowa State job to come back and go back home. Obviously he did. And he went to Nebraska. I was like, I don't know if he can win there. So to do what he's doing, but I've watched a lot of their games. It just feels like every game they're going to get beat and they find ways to win. So you have to respect it. I just don't know. Like, I'm looking at that team. I'm trying to think March Madness. I'm like,
it's perfect. They're the perfect example of a team that's going to get beat maybe in the first round, right?
First couple rounds.
That isn't going to survive because it's just like everybody else, live by the 3, die by the 3. There's not a lot of high level, like there's no NBA players. Maybe Rienk Mast is an NBA player on that, but there's not NBA caliber athleticism and talent. And they're kind of shooting their shot now. You know what I mean? They're using up all that magic that you kind of want to have in March where you get hot and go.
I come back against Indiana. You don't come back at Indiana very often. That was that. It's not like I'm saying they're terrible.
No, they're really good. Yeah, but they won 21 straight games. Like,
they worry me the way they play. I will say this: they're a better defensive team than I thought. That does give them, like, all they basically need is to play this defense and to shoot over a 5 to 10 minute stretch. If they get hot, they're going to beat you because they do have good shooters. And it's not one guy that beats you; they have a bunch. But in March, all of a sudden, another team shoots a bunch of threes too, and that's how you get beat. But I love that the Indiana football is good. I love that Nebraska basketball is good. It's like you start Vandy basketball. Vandy goes down last night, but still, what a start to the season. We start to see Miami, Ohio. They're not just beating teams barely; they're murdering teams, and they're sniping my Bearcats while they're doing it. Because the Bearcats, they're big rivals, of course, and it was
nice win for them. They're playing better basketball also. But about Nebraska, they have at the end of January, beginning of February, they have a 4-game stretch where it's Michigan on the road, Illinois at home, who they already beat on the road. That was a really nice win for them. Random trip to New Jersey for Rutgers in between again. And then Purdue at home. So Michigan, Illinois, and Purdue all within like a 12-day stretch. I think they're going to peak there, and we're going to find out what they are. And then I think after that, I think it's going to be a steady downhill for Nebraska. Again, not saying that they don't have the juice to maybe be a Sweet 16 team, but they are peaking now in terms of their betting value. And maybe that week, maybe they win 2 out of those 3 games against Michigan, Purdue and Illinois. They will peak at a certain point, but then looking at their schedule the last half of the year and into the tournament, I think they're gonna trend downward.
I mean, the odds makers have not. They continue to put Nebraska as underdogs, though, which is surprising that you're a highly ranked team, undefeated, and it's kind of been they've been great. I mean, what's their against the spread record? It's got to be something nuts. So
how about this?
I can't believe it hasn't been adjusted.
They're at Northwestern on Saturday. Okay, Northwestern played well, but didn't cover last night against Illinois. What do you think that number is going to be? Nebraska at Northwestern on Saturday.
Dude, Nebraska's probably only going to be like a 1 or 2 point favorite. I mean, the way they've been putting them, it's like I think they should be a 4.5 point favorite, but they're not.
It'll be around 7. Okay, but I 100%. But that's still a little short. I feel like, considering that they were just getting 8.5 points from Illinois. Okay. That number is going to be around 7.5. But you're Nebraska. You've won 21.
Disrespect for Nebraska.
You're undefeated. You're 17-0. You're in the top 10. Like, why isn't that an 11.5 point spread? Like, 11.5 is the new 8.5.
Oh, if it's 10, I would take Nebraska or Northwestern in a heartbeat. There's one team in the Big Ten. If I'm a really good team, I don't want to play against Northwestern because it's like a rock fight, usually low scoring. Remember when Boo Buie was there? It was like they were scoring in the 50s and 60s, and that dude could score at the end of the clock.
They got the kid now. Martinelli, Martinelli is. I mean, he is one of the 8 best players in the Big Ten. Like he just is. He's outstanding. He doesn't have anything around him, but they got that one guy that can go off for 25, 30 points on a given night and give you some problems.
Yeah, they don't really play well when it gets high scoring. So if Nebraska gets hot and they have to try to match them, then it could get out of hand. But I still don't understand, unless Collins doesn't want to go anywhere, which is very possible. He's a Chicago kid. So he's living back where, in his hometown. Maybe he just doesn't want anything better than Northwestern. And he's got Northwestern in the tournament, which I don't think anyone would.
Couple times,
yeah. So he's won a tournament game now. He's, everything. He's checked all the boxes to win a national championship, let's be honest, or Big Ten championship. Why has he not got another job? Because there's other jobs that if you can win at Northwestern, you can win anywhere.
I think he's fine right where he is. And frankly, you look at Northwestern and you look at their, the people that graduate from there. Like, I feel like if they really get on it, they could build a nice little money pool to bring in some players like in this NIL era. Like guys that graduate from Northwestern usually go on to high-paying jobs, right? Like you should be able to tap the donor pool and really build up that program.
The Northwestern football, I did hear, like they're going to triple their NIL this year, which wasn't big last year, so it's still going to be way under. And they got the new stadium. So maybe if football starts winning, then basketball kind of pops on and be like, all right, give us some of that. Give us some of that NIL money. You know what we could do if we added a few key players. And I will say this, with the expanded Big Ten, SEC, like it makes it where you don't have to be unbelievable anymore because you could hit the scheduling lottery like we saw with, let's be honest, with football in the Big Ten this year, everybody all the big teams avoided kind of each other than Oregon and Penn State. So it's like or Oregon and Indiana. So it can kind of happen the same way where you only play that team one time. You only face Michigan once. If you beat them now, all of a sudden it's great. So I love
you can be the 9th or 10th best team in the Big Ten and find yourself on the bubble. And that's where those non-conference games.
What did they get in last year? See, the SEC got 12 in last year, right? To the tournament.
Was it more than that even?
I know it was 12. I think it was 12.
12 sounds about right.
What did the Big Ten get?
They got 8. The Big Ten got 8.
So that's half the conference gets in.
Yes.
No, they have 18 now,
4,
right?
5, 6, 7, 8.
So
9,
not quite half.
11, 12, 13, 14. No, the SEC got 14 last year.
14 out of 18?
Yeah. 14 out of 16.
No.
LSU and South Carolina were the only 2 teams that didn't make it. Yes. Texas, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma were at the bottom and they made it. Yeah, it was a joke.
I don't know if the Big Ten is going to get that same sort of respect.
Nobody should get that much respect. Like,
well, I will say this:
16 league is kind of ridiculous.
It used to be you had to be 500. You had to be 500 in your league. That was kind of the Mendoza line. Like, it didn't really matter
20 wins
to make the tournament. If it didn't really matter how many you got, 22 wins, you got 18. If you weren't 500 in your league, very seldom made the tournament. Last year, there was multiple teams that made the tournament didn't go.
That were 6-12. Oklahoma and Texas were 6-12 and made the tournament. And not surprisingly, those three teams that I mentioned, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Texas, that all kind of snuck in, they all lost. Like, Texas lost in their play-in game.
And it wasn't the greatest league outside of the problem was the non-power teams last year didn't have a great year. Like, there wasn't people banging on the door for a bunch of teams because they weren't great. And I don't know if that's because the transfer portal or whatever. It's kind of like similar tonight. We have a bunch of games tonight. These are all teams that, other than Gonzaga tonight, this is the mishmash of teams tonight. I thought it was a very I still don't understand what these conferences are doing. Like, you have to, if I was the Big Ten, I'd be trying to dominate. I'd be like the NFL trying to dominate every day of the week.
They used to. Thursday did not used to be an off night. Friday used to be the Ivy League night. That was off night. Like, Thursday, you used to have a loaded slate of games. So
with the number of conference teams in these, I would be like, I'm going to try to play every day of the week.
Sure.
Why not? Why not? But tonight, speaking of the Gonzaga game, they're a big number here. We're at that point of the year where Gonzaga played that ridiculous schedule. They do it every year. They did well. I mean, other than that one in the tournament where they got blitzed by Michigan, I mean, they've been kind of as good, and maybe even better than I thought, to be honest, this year. They get at this point of the season, though, and it's really motivation. You know what I mean? Like, if they want to beat anybody by 20, maybe not St. Mary's and Santa Clara, they could pretty much do so. What do you think tonight on them? Because I've been back and forth on it.
Take the points. Easily take the points. Again, this number is inflated. It probably should be like 13.5, something like that. They're on the road after 3 straight home games. They barely beat San Diego. Now, that was like a Super Bowl game for San Diego. San Diego has their brand new gym. Gonzaga was their first league game. Like, that was an all-out, max-out spot for San Diego. So I give Gonzaga, a pass for that. But Washington State, they only lost by 6 at St. Mary's their last time out. If they can play with St. Mary's, they can play with Gonzaga. Only lost to USC by 7 on the road. Bradley by 4. Seattle and Nevada, they stayed within 14. Washington, they only lost by 12. So, like, Washington State hasn't rolled the ball out there and got blown out by 30 points by comparable teams. So, no, you like right now looking across college basketball, Craig, and I'm having an awful year. I've been terrible. I got to tell you, I'm kind of at the point now where, like, I'm not going to lay points with anyone. Like, there's just no, like, all the underdogs are covering. It's so much different than.
What do you think, though, of the West Coast Conference now that Oregon State and Washington State by like default end up in there? It's like, people are like, oh, Washington State, they're so far gone from a Power 5. I've never seen these programs just go like boom, because the transfer portal is like instantly once you didn't. I mean, they're like the WCC is still a joke. You remember when BYU came in a few years ago and gave them that third team? And it was like, okay, now it's not just St. Mary's and Gonzaga. We got BYU, and they're the third best. Like, Mark Few would have a national championship if he had moved Gonzaga into a major conference by now. Okay. Well, I mean, the rumor was that the Big 12 was going to add them and UConn as basketball only, and from what I heard, they said no.
Right. He has not wanted to move them out of the WCC. Okay. At any point over the last 15 years, he could have gone to the Mountain West. He could have gone to the Pac-12. He could have gone to the Big 12. He didn't do it because he liked his setup here where play a bunch of big non-conference games, right? 4 or 5 big non-conference games, maybe a tournament, and then dominate your league and pretty much guarantee yourself a 1, 2, or 3 seed. In his mind, that was the best path to winning a national championship, and he was wrong. It wasn't. Like, getting toughened up from an SEC schedule or an ACC schedule or a Big 12 schedule where we're just every night, every other night, 3 times a week, you're playing against teams that can fight back. That toughens your team up in a way that Gonzaga never was. And, like, literally, that's why he doesn't have a national championship. So Mark Few, he's one of the all-time great coaches. He's a Hall of Famer, all that stuff. He doesn't have a national championship, and it's his own fault because he could have taken Gonzaga into a major conference and they would have had one because he had the talent and he had the teams. They just
I would say he's had 3 teams that I think that were at least maybe 4
at least
that I thought could win a national championship, and obviously he got to one and was this close. So like, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying, like, if he was right now, if he had to play Kansas and he had to play, BYU this year, you go down the list of dude, they would be so much better come the tournament.
Yes.
And the hardest part about their league is like if they could at the end of the year play some of these teams, like at non-conference, but it's like if you're in conference play, you can't. These other teams can't play them. So it's like they have no way to test themselves until the NCAA tournament. They haven't played anybody in 3 weeks. I will say this year, I do think Seattle is kind of a sneaky team.
They're a little feisty. Yep, they're a little feisty.
But outside of them and St. Mary's and Seattle, Santa Clara
played them tough. San Francisco can be tricky in their home gym, but again, they can these teams can hang around with Gonzaga. They can't consistently.
They're just not these teams don't make the tournament for a reason. The other game tonight that I thought was sort of interesting is this FAU game. FAU and Wichita State. I mean, first of all, we were talking to me and I last night, what the hell happened to Greg? I know Greg Marshall got fired, just whatever. But everybody gets second chances now. This dude won big at Wichita. Mm-hmm. Why has nobody given that guy another chance?
It did not end well with him. And he is just not a great, my understanding of the situation is he's just not a great guy. He's not a lot of fun to be around. And it didn't end well with Wichita State.
But in the middle,
he was
Van Fleet days. It was unbelievable.
Oh my God, that Ron Baker, Fred Van Fleet team was one of my favorite teams of all time. They got me a boat. Those guys literally, I bought a boat because of the money that I made off Ron Baker and Fred Van Fleet over 2 years.
Every game.
But that's why he never moved up. Is apparently he is just he's just kind of a jerk. And that's why
Steve Lavin
he would
has
have
a
to
job,
move down.
I was we were doing breaking down games last night, and Steve Lavin still has a job. I'm like, how has this guy got a job?
Because he's likable. Because he's likable. That's why.
I also think he's got that slick personality.
That's what I mean.
Salesman.
Yeah, he is a likable human. Greg Marshall is not. But I like Wichita State there. They have definitely been underperforming. I think Florida Atlantic has been overperforming. I don't know what's going on with Wichita State, but they're better than they have played. Okay. And Florida Atlantic, again, they're coming off a real nice win over Memphis, where they really kind of peaked, I think, there. So I think this is a game where Wichita State can definitely trip them up. If not, if Florida Atlantic wins and covers this game, then mark it down right now. They go to Temple on Sunday, and Temple will be an absolute must play. If they beat Memphis and Wichita State at home and handle them, and then they go to Temple on a Sunday, that's a must play. So this is one of those situations where you're going to make your money against FAU one way or another.
That conference this year, like Memphis, you just go down. It's like anybody can. They're just not very good this year. Anybody can beat anybody on someone just has a bad night. I thought Memphis, they played in that tournament. They lost by 1 to Wake Forest, I think, and 1 to
Purdue, wasn't it? They played Purdue. They lost to Wake Forest by 1. They played Purdue really tough in the first game, and then played Wake Forest. Really
and Wake
tough.
Forest hit that miracle on the home run play. They hit the miracle to beat them with the 3.
So they beat Baylor too.
Right. They've played right with them, but then it's since then it's Penny being Penny a little bit.
Penny Hardaway, just not a good. He's a good collector of talent. He's a terrible in-game coach.
It's hard. They always said Larry Bird when he was the coach of the Pacers. He had Rick Carlisle with them. And so it's dude, he had all these great coaches. So it made him look really good as a coach because he was smart enough to put guys on his staff that covered up his weaknesses, which was, he didn't have the experience of the coaching. These guys did. So it's harder to do that in college, but in the NBA, we see it. Speaking of NBA tonight, real quick, couple big games, I think. Phoenix, they had that, where they played terrible the first half against the Heat, came all the way back tight in third quarter, ended up losing. But now they had a day off. Now they go to face Detroit. Detroit, they're the best team in the East, and I don't think it's close, but it's if you put them in the West, where would they be? So it's kind of if you're the 4th team in the West or 5th team in the West, which is basically where, Phoenix is in that realm, Like, would that be where Detroit is? That's how I'm trying to play this game, like trying to think like.
I think they'd be the fourth best team in the
West.
I think Detroit's everything that Minnesota is, right? Like, and we're going to see
they don't play them game in and game out. You know, it's like the
East
is so much easier, and it's just like in the West, it's just a grind.
Look, I don't think the East just isn't healthy right now. I think by the playoff time, I think the East, frankly, the top 4 or 5 teams are going to be right there with the West. Like, New York isn't playing well right now, but we've seen what
Brunson's
the Knicks
out
can
tonight.
do.
I haven't heard how long Brunson's out, but that could be be huge.
Right. Like, what was I going to say? Cleveland is starting to get healthy, right? Like,
Cleveland finally won last night. That was a big one.
I'm saying, like, you want to find a buy low team right now. Get on the Cavaliers bandwagon. They were an absolute wagon last year. This year, they just have not been healthy. They have not had those 4 studs all playing together, all Pistons firing. So, like, Cleveland's right there. You got Detroit. Like, I still think Orlando, when the Wagner twins and Suggs get back, I still think Orlando has, like, a pretty high ceiling. There's some
How
good
about Toronto?
teams.
Orlando, Toronto look the same to me. Like, it's like when we seen them healthy, I think they're pretty damn good, but we just feel like we haven't seen them like that.
I don't trust any team that's that reliant on Brandon Ingram. I can't. They have talent. I agree. They have the juice to maybe beat somebody in a first round series. That is their ceiling right there.
Well, unless it really falls off, they're most likely going to be a top 4 team. So it's like, they're going to end up with a home playoff series. I mean, you don't know. They're all pretty close there. But it's like, I don't know what Miami is. It's like they don't have Hero. They win all these games. All of a sudden, Hero comes back. They can't win.
It's unbelievable.
It's like, makes zero sense. That was
unbelievable. I mean, the Sixers, we haven't even talked about the Sixers. Like, they're still they got boat raced by Cleveland. They play again tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see if they made any adjustments. They didn't have Embiid. But same thing. I still kind of like Philly with Embiid as in more of that complementary role instead of the ball dominant role. Like, would you want to play them in a 7-game series in the playoffs?
Because I know he's not going to be healthy for 7 games.
Right.
Like, if you play 7 games, you might. Let's
just assume that he is healthy come playoff time, and he's coming off the bench, and they're not running everything through them. Like, they're one of those types of teams that I could see making that run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Are they good enough to make
I actually would rather have Boston. I think Boston is better than all those teams except Detroit right now, and maybe Cleveland if Cleveland gets their rights. Like, I don't know how they're doing it because I watch Boston games and it's like Jaylen Brown and a bunch of guys that are nice role players, but it's like they're all playing great together. I will say I thought Joe Mazzulla was a terrible coach last year. The year before, I thought he did unbelievable, obviously. I think that he's doing an unbelievable job this year because he's willing to get off of a guy. If a guy's not playing great, all of a sudden they go from 25 minutes one game to 18 or 10 minutes the next game. He just rides the hot hand. Easier to do that when it's a bunch of role players instead of like setting Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. But still, I mean, you still have to pull the right punches. Now, that's a very contingent team on Jaylen Brown because if he goes down, they really don't have another.
Well, and there's that level of desperation that kind of kicks in. Like, they came into the season knowing that they weren't going to have Jason Tatum. So, like, those role players knew, okay.
Have you heard the rumors, though, lately? They're like, if they stay hot, Jason Tatum would be willing to come back like last week of the season and make a playoff run. I'm like, I don't know why you take that chance.
I don't know.
But if you could add, and I don't know, I don't think he could be like Jason Tatum of old. But if he gives you 90% Jason Tatum with the way they're playing, they could get out of the East because other than Detroit, I'm not scared of anybody in the East.
No, to what end?
I hope they don't.
Risking him, losing him for another year, or potentially altering his career by bringing him back for what? For a second round series? Because even with him,
well, you'd have to believe you could win it.
I think the East is a little better than you do. And again, as I'm looking at the West, there's a lot of dead wood out in the West, like New Orleans, Sacramento, Utah, Portland's
am I wrong? Did Sacramento win 2 in a row?
They can't stay healthy. Like the Clippers, Memphis, Dallas, like these teams are all below 500. And then you're getting into your top 8 seeds and you still have like Golden State there when we know that they're not any good. Like Houston's not going to be that good because they have Kevin Durant. And he's a loser. Like, everybody needs to just quit it.
There's one move that I don't know who's going to make it. Somebody's going to make it, Robert, and we both know it. Somebody's going to get Ja Morant. The divorce in Atlanta took too long. The divorce in Memphis is taking just as long. It's like, dude, what are you waiting on? Like, he obviously doesn't want to be there. I know the fans love him, but it's like, dude, you're doing better when he's not around. Same way with the Hawks did. I don't know who, but it's going to be one of those teams that we're talking about.
What's his contract situation?
I think he has 2 or 3 years left, but it's a lot of money.
I mean, then you can't trade him right now. Then if you're Memphis, because right now all these other teams are pointing to what Atlanta got for Trae Young. Okay, and Trae Young has played more games over the last couple of years. Like, John Morant's still kind of toxic from the suspensions, from the off-field stuff. He's a head case. He hasn't been
him to Houston.
He hasn't been that dude in a few years, though. Like, do we even know if he's going to get back to being like that all NBA first team caliber player? We don't know, man, because
he was the MVP talk a couple years ago.
That's what I'm saying.
If you added him to
4 years ago, that was 4 years ago.
The Van Fleet injury obviously left Houston if you added him to that Houston team, it would be totally different. Like,
I don't know, man.
He's just a good leader. And they really, at the end of games, they really don't have that play. Like Shepard's not that, they just don't have that guy. I'm like, now I don't know.
No way would I put him on Houston. I think that's a terrible mix. Like Durant, you got the young guys who have their attitude.
The Bucks and
him. I think John Morant needs to go someplace that has more of a proven track record, strong coach, like more winning tradition, stuff like that. Like, throwing him on Houston, I don't know.
I heard Houston, Minnesota, and Milwaukee are the teams that are like interesting, because all of them are kind of like, they're not winning a championship as they are now. If you added him and did, obviously who are you giving up to? If you can do it without adding, because a lot of teams you don't want back. Memphis doesn't want back they want back draft picks.
I put him on Miami.
But who does Miami have to give up? Like, maybe Tyler Hero?
Sure. I put him on Miami. I would put him in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee makes the most sense, because if you want to keep, the problem is like, he's not a good 3-point shooter, and Golden State believes in the threes.
Doesn't matter. It's time for them to start transitioning, right? He comes in, plays with Draymond, plays with Steph Curry, plays with Steve Kerr, plays in that organization for a couple of years. Maybe they could get him back. I heard
Giannis they're going to make a big swing at Giannis here at the trade deadline.
He's 8, maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't hate it, but I just think.
But I guess you got to get Jimmy Butler to get that, because you can't put them all into the salary cap.
Right.
But obviously, I love Jimmy Butler, but come on, Giannis is a different, and he's got 6 more years left, probably.
Correct.
A few good.
Correct. But I'm just saying, there's only maybe 4 or 5 teams that I feel like John Morant could actually go to. And again, you look at what the trade market was for Trae Young. Memphis needs to get back more than that. And right now, there's not a bigger market than that. I don't think people are knocking down their door to add that guy. That guy is still toxic right now.
Yeah. I thought Brooklyn would be a terrible spot, because it's similar to the Washington, where Washington's like, dude, we got nothing to lose. We're terrible. If we add Trae Young and it's not good, we'll just cut bait. We're the Washington team. No one cares. Same way with Brooklyn. It's like, no one really cares. If he went to Brooklyn, though, and they were just like, dude, it's all yours, and built around it, maybe. I
think he'd be in jail. I think he'd be in jail within. He'd be back in jail.
That would be positive. That would be the problem with John Morant, is he does stuff that the league has suspended for. So then the team's stuck with him. If he goes to jail, you could just be cut his contract. So then you get off from under it.
Harsh Sayani 4848 is asking, what's the most solid pick for today? Listen, here's what you can do. We're just giving free plays and talking about what we think here. Use the free 60 link. Go over to Doc Sports. August Young has an 8-unit NHL Game of the Year. This isn't just a big play. This is the biggest play. And Griffin Murphy has an 8-unit college basketball Game of the Year. So if you want the 2 most solid picks, those are the 2 biggest picks that we have going at the site, among a litany of plays in the big play alert. But you can get those 2 Game of the Years for.
What's your best play today? Level today, Robert?
Passing and everything.
Okay. I like a prop only. I didn't like anything big other than a prop. I do have a 4-unit play in both NBA and college basketball, but nothing to me, the difference between 2 and 4 units, you're really,
Sure.
It's cutting hairs. When you get to that 5, 6, or 7, that's much stronger. I really like a prop tonight in the NBA. I think this is a good time of year for props. Pre-All-Star break where, players are still pushing hard for everything. And I still think after the All-Star break, all these different things kind of come together where teams, are they trying to win? Are they trying, I hate that. Players get wrapped up in it. It's like, all of a sudden, why did, remember when Lillard that one year, they only played him 12 minutes one game? It was like, just set him out.
Right.
It was like, are you with the sports books or something?
That's why I won't do NBA props until the playoffs. That's why I dig deep into that. Props is the only thing that I'm consistently crushing in. I'm having a winning NHL season. I'm going to have a winning NBA season, but I'm just kind of there in the NBA. But props, NFL props, I'm plus 10,000 over the last 4 months. I cannot hit an NFL play to save my life. Last week, my 7-unit play was Green Bay. They're up 21-3. I'm like, oh my God, finally. I'm going to win. Nope, that didn't happen. So I cannot hit an NFL play to save my life, but I cannot miss on NFL props. It's ridiculous. So my biggest play this weekend from the divisional round will absolutely be a 7-unit prop play.
The one thing I always, I'm not a big prop play in the playoffs as far as NFL. Just I spend so much time on the sides and now I'm done and my brain just is fried. Because, when you have both college basketball, we release all our plays on Thursday. You have all these games. It's dude, it's easier for me at least to pick out 1 out of 50, 60, or 4 out of 50 or 60. Now we get down to this week where you have 4 games and the college football. And it's dude, it's you go over it in your head so many times. My brain's fried at the end of it.
No, 100%. Right. But
I think this is the greatest weekend of playoffs because I can make arguments for everybody. And that is this is what the NFL has tried. And obviously they haven't had it in a long time because we had the Patriots forever now, and we had the Chiefs and even the Eagles, pretty much, 2 of the last 3 years. So you've had a lot of basically the favorites kind of, I won't say dominating, but let's be honest, they have. And now it's okay, they're gone, and it's.
I don't know. Be careful what you wish for. That's kind of the NBA has been pushing for that, and their finals ratings have gone down. People like dynasties. People can say they don't. People love having a bad guy to root for. If we end up with a Seattle-Houston Super Bowl this year, we'll watch it because we're professionals or whatever. But the public writ large won't. And if you string 3 or 4 years like that together, where it's, Jacksonville, Green Bay next year, and, you just have these random teams and that dynasty doesn't emerge, I think people do lose interest. Think about the playoffs the last few years. What has been the number one topic, right? Kansas City and the refs. Kansas City gets all the calls. Everybody's rooting against Kansas City.
Taylor Swift.
Everybody's rooting against Kansas City. So when they lost last year in the Super Bowl, Giants fans, Browns fans, everyone's yeah, screw you, Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. You lose something when you don't have that. And for the longest time, we had it with New England. We had it with the Cowboys and 49ers in the decade before that. We had it with Kansas City. So, parity is good to a point, but people love dynasties. They can say that they don't. But,
the NFL is praying that it's not Seattle. And I think they want the Bills. They would love to see the Josh Allen. I think the Bills, obviously, me and you.
I think everybody wants the Bills.
I would love to see that. I don't really I think people actually would root for New England for once, which is kind of funny that everybody kind of hated on them for that. I think this is a more likable team. Obviously, Drake May, just quiet guy, just seems to get it done. He's not and I like Mike Vrabel. I've always and I hate Ohio State.
Love Mike Vrabel.
For me to like an Ohio State guy is so hard to do, but it's just, I would love for him to win, and then Tennessee, they're still sucking and be what in the hell would you firing this guy for? So, it would not be the highest rating though if the Patriots get there because they don't have, Drake May's an up and comer, but they don't have a ton of brand names.
Correct. I think that they're rooting hard for a Rams Bills.
Yeah, that would do well.
Kind of Super Bowl. I think Chicago would be a fun story. I think that they would get some national attention. I think that everybody that doesn't have a dog left in the fight is kind of rooting for Buffalo, but as an upstate New York guy, spoiler alert, it's going to end badly for the Bills. If
it's the best player, Josh Allen wins every game. Unfortunately, the rest of the team, this is his worst team he's had in the last 4 years. Like they had a lot of good teams there.
Is it though? Like I don't think they're as bad as people think they are. Like the core of this team still is pretty much the same guys as the last 2 or 3 years. It really has been. Like,
this is worst receiving crew for sure.
But he's had the same guys. Like who has he had for the last?
He hasn't had to do this.
Since Stephon Diggs left, he has had to do this with this cast.
I would love to see him.
It's still Dawson Knox. It's still Duncan Cade. It's still Shakir.
What is he? Can you believe it? They're a 1-point underdog against the number 1 seed. I know the team was off a bye, have struggled. So that's the,
they didn't used to. They didn't.
College football had happened. We've seen it lately, and now sometimes they still win, but the games usually aren't. Was it Detroit? Was they the last one that lost?
They lost last year, yeah. Against Washington, they lost last year.
No, but was it against Tampa Bay? I think they lost when they had the bye 2 years ago.
Detroit wouldn't have had the bye 2 years ago.
We've seen these teams go down, which is
it's weird. Like back in the day when there used to be 2 buys. Remember when the top 2 teams got it? Like that used to be a great angle to play, was to play the teams off the buys because people forget how good they are and stuff like that. Since it's gone to 1, little bit different thing. The thing about Denver is, without looking, how many playoff teams do you think Denver beat this year?
What did they have? 12 wins?
14, didn't they? Because
14.
New England had 13.
So you figure in their division, there was the Chargers that made it. That's it, right?
That's it.
So they beat them twice. 6. 3. Wow. Did they beat the Chargers twice?
The Chargers when they rested their starters.
So they beat the Chargers twice. And then who was the other playoff team?
Wait, did they beat the Chargers twice? I don't know that they did. The other one was Houston in the game where CJ Stroud got hurt in the first quarter.
And they scored 13 points or something.
Right. Okay. And then the other one is they went to Philadelphia, who were flakes, back in week 5, and they won. Okay, good win.
Well, if they only had 3, then they only beat the Chargers.
Beat the defending champions, good wins. But that's it. They beat San Diego when they were resting their starters. They beat Houston without CJ Stroud. And no, they only beat the Chargers.
What were their 2 losses? Colts was 1. At the Colts, I remember
they lost to the Colts and they lost to the Chargers in back-to-back weeks in weeks 2 and 3. Then Jacksonville hammered them at home recently. And then the rest of Denver's schedule is littered with them playing up and down to their level of competition. So, Denver is I will say number 1 seed. New England's as soft a number 2 seed as you're ever going to find.
Sometimes you can only play the schedule in front of you. They both kind of got a little lucky. Like Chiefs weren't as good as what everybody was expecting. That just happens every once in a while.
Those were still big wins though. Yeah.
Like the Bills, I think the Patriots kind of got lucky to beat the Bills the first time. The Bills took them a little easy, and before you know it, they were down, and they just couldn't. Yep. They came back, but they just couldn't get it. But they lost to them the second time when they were up. So it's there's definitely questions on both the top teams in the AFC. Like the Patriots, they're both super young teams. Now, Sean Payton, I don't know what you think about Sean Payton. I'm not a big Sean Payton fan. I liked him early on when he was in with the Saints. I just thought he was it was what was all good in the NFL, in my opinion, at that point, just very innovative. And then he became this I don't know, he just thought he was better than everybody else. And it's dude, everybody else is freaking talented too and smart and all these great coaches. And it just and then the movie came out about him and that wasn't super positive.
I love Sean Payton. That same thing. That guy's made me a lot of money.
He's won at Denver.
Made me a lot of money over the years. So he's on my perpetual Christmas card list. But Denver and New England are probably 2 of the softest number 1 and number 2 seeds that I've seen in 20 years. I can't think of another year for another conference where I looked at the top 2 seeds and I was like, are either one of those teams any good? Because again, don't get it twisted about New England. They played the easiest schedule.
Yeah. because
I think that it's top 5 easiest
got to
schedule
face the
since
Jets.
the merger and the easiest schedule of this century. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, let's not,
They lost to the Raiders week 1 too.
What's that? Yeah, they lost. Right. Like who are they? I'm with you. I love Vrabel, better in the underdog role. This is not New England's year. If Denver or New England make it to the Super Bowl, I will be using an 8-unit play on whoever comes out of the NFC.
Did you? If I'm New England, I'm like, I want to play anybody but Houston, because that Houston team is like a meat grinder. I mean, it is just, you are going to be, they're going to kill your quarterback. Like they're going to, it just, nothing is easy. Like,
but the Chargers defense, I feel, is very comparable to Houston's. Houston's is better, but what the Chargers brought to that game last week was it's here and here in terms of what they're going to see. The big question is CJ Stroud. He was a disaster on Monday night. Okay. Like fumbled 5 times, should have had probably 3 interceptions. Like, I like CJ Stroud. What's he going to be in the playoffs? Like if he plays well, because I like the weapons they have, even without Nico Collins. They played without Nico Collins a lot this year.
Last 2 years too.
Like I like the 2 rookies that they have. They still have, I like Hutchinson. They still have big play guys. Okay. So I think that they're going to be fine. Woody Marks has come on and been great in the second half of the year. Their offensive line is better than what the Chargers have. So like it's all on CJ Stroud. If he plays well, then they win this game. If he doesn't play well, or if New England turns him over, or if he looks like a deer in the headlights like he did against Pittsburgh's defense last week, then New England's going to move on because of Vrabel.
It's whoever wins the turnover battle on that one wins, because it really is. Both those defenses are good. Both of them kind of just play to their defense. Patriots have a little more talent on offense, and Drake May is, I mean, I can't believe he didn't get like more hype. I mean, he has put up a great season. A lot of it, like you said, they've played bad teams. You get to play the Jets and all that. Like, you play your league, and other than the Bills, everybody's bad. But he looked good. I'm super excited about this weekend. Because it could be the changing of the guard. Let's be very honest. The Mahomes, the Josh Allen, if they're both not in even the regional, the conference finals, I mean, what's that say? The Eagles aren't in there. I mean, it's like, we could very easily have Bo Nix versus friggin' Drake May, 2 super young. Were they in the same draft?
Yes. Again, yeah. Yep. This is the second year.
So this is their third year or second year?
Second year. But again, the NFL has got to be praying that it's Buffalo makes the AFC Championship game at least. Because again, nobody wants to watch Denver-Houston. Nobody wants to watch. Is that the same
draft that Caleb came out of?
Yes.
So
because all summer I listened to everybody tell me how much better those guys were than Caleb Williams, which is a joke.
So that one, and then obviously Brock Purdy could be we're talking about some quarterbacks that you said we could have 4 quarterbacks that no one would have thought would have a chance to be in a quarterback be there next week.
Yeah, the NFC, whatever combination makes it in the NFC, they're going to do a big number. People are going to be interested in that game. But in the AFC, anything short of Buffalo advancing, that's
can you bet Josh Darnold? Like, can you get the playoffs from last year out of your head? Like, that's my problem with Sam Darnold. I'm like, it's very hard because that was so bad.
So
I rewatched. I agree, but
I rewatched both of the games. Okay, the condensed NFL Plus. I rewatched both of the games, Seattle versus San Francisco. Okay, this week, and I wish I hadn't done that maybe because that game in Week 18, the 13-3, that game was not close. like Seattle probably should have won that game like 30-6. Okay, they absolutely dominated San Francisco, who now has no Kittle. I know they've been doing it for weeks, but San Francisco is another one of those teams that, like, when you lift up the hood and you look at their schedule this year, they got to play that last place schedule. They crossed over with the AFC South. In fact, I'm going to do a little tease for you. I have a statistic that I'm going to bust out on Doc's Daily tomorrow, okay, over the best divisions in football over the last 6 years and the one thing that they all had in common. I'll save that little nugget for tomorrow. But San Francisco hasn't played a very tough schedule too. Like, I think Seattle could go off on San Francisco. I really think that that they can. I think if we're ranking games
injuries
in terms of blowout potential, I think that one could be. I think that one could be.
Darnold is the only question. I mean, they are loaded on defense. I mean, they make you wish that you didn't get out of bed that day. There's very similar to that Houston team where they just beat you. I mean, it's just hard-hitting football. This is old-school football. And then they have a very powerful offense when Darnold's not turning the ball over. Like, it's just, unfortunately, he's in his biggest games, he's had some of his worst performances.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. That's been holding me back from Seattle all year. Like, go back, if you go back, dig deep on the Doc Sports YouTube thing and go look at my Seattle Seahawks preview. I go down the list. I'm like, I love everything. I love their defense. I love their coach. I love their draft. I love Clint Kubiak. Like I said, whoever got Clint Kubiak was going to the playoffs. I love everything except Sam Darnold. Like, I hate Sam Darnold. I think he sucks, blah, blah, blah. They went 12-5 against the spread this year. I'm kind of done, like, doubting it. Like maybe he will. Maybe he will throw 4 interceptions and they'll lose and everyone will be like, oh, Darnold just being Darnold. But, like, I held back from diving full bore into Seattle this season because of Sam Darnold. I
think everybody
did. The number 1 seed, they went 12-5 against the spread. So I was wrong to doubt that. So,
well, I don't think we were wrong. I think their rest of their team was that good that they overcame. They really didn't need to.
Right, but how's that different now? How is that different? We have to bet on or against them this week. How is it different now?
Well, I don't know if it'll be
we love everything except Darnold, but, like,
I don't know if it'd be this week that he cost them the game because that San Francisco team is just so beat up. I mean, dude, and it's been all year. I mean, for them to even be here is a really testament to coaching and for, like, their depth. So you have to give Lynch, right? I think that's the GM. Like, you have to give him
Lynch, Shanahan, and Robert Saleh.
Like, you have to give them the credit of being able to the next guy up. But at some point, it's like it's just too much. Kittle was like their best weapon on offense. I mean, I know Christian McCaffrey gets all the thing, but Kittle's like the guy you have to play up to stop McCaffrey. All of a sudden, boom, Kittle beat you for 30.
I don't know. Demarcus Robinson looked like Jerry Rice last week.
He's going to need that this week. I mean, I don't think San Francisco can win a low-scoring game here. I think if it wins, they have to. This is one of those games that if you like San Francisco, you have to play with the over because there's no way.
Am I crazy for liking the over in this game? I look back and again, we had 2 low-scoring games between the 2 teams. They combined for, like, I think it was like 1,156 yards in the 2 games, averaged out to like a 25.1 yards per point. NFL average is right around like 15 yards per point, 14.7. So, like, the numbers are skewed. 2 low-scoring games, getting baited into that. Am I kind of nuts for thinking that this is the one where, like, kind of all hell breaks loose and it becomes a shootout between these 2 teams? Great defenses.
I mean, that's the only way San Francisco can win. If this is like played in the teens, there's just no way they win because their defense just isn't as good. Seattle's defense is crazy. Like, I mean, them in Houston, if it's a Super Bowl, them in Houston, the total is going to be in the 30s. Like, right. 38 or 38 and a half, something like the 39.
Seattle's defense gave up 37 points to the Rams. Other than that, they gave up 3, 10, 16, 9, and 0 points. So 5 of the last 6 games, they've given up an average of like 9 points per game. That's why I feel like I'm kind of nuts for liking the over. It's like, why would you go against that defense? But I don't know. Like, I think back to that Rams 49ers game where the Rams blew them out. That was like 42.
But don't you think, Robert, it's like, you remember like the Chicago game this week when it was like they were going for it on their side of the field? That's basically what San Francisco is going to have to do because they're going to know they have to take extra chances because they're down people. And so that creates points because now all of a sudden, maybe it's not like on your side, but maybe it's at the 50. But still, like short fields with this offense, Seattle, they have put up some nice. I mean, their balance of run pass is just, and it's not one guy that beat you. Like Smith Ojigwe is unbelievable. Don't get me wrong.
Well, both of their backs, same thing. Like I'm looking at props and looking at both of their backs. Like they both went over 70 yards the last time that they played against San Francisco. I think they're going to lean heavily on the run game there. Also interesting subplot is that like Kubiak and Saleh are both up for a lot of head coaching jobs. They've been like Kubiak has been interviewing for the last 2 weeks. Saleh has 2 interviews scheduled for Sunday after this game. Like, how much of that is a distraction? Because that's like the game within the game right there, as Saleh versus Kubiak. So yeah, it's gonna be great.
I'm glad my team's not. I wish we would have gotten a new coach, obviously, but we're the only team in the AFC North that didn't fire their coach or hasn't. It is like
unbelievable that Zach Taylor's the last.
But to be honest, if Saleh would have been the next coach of the Bengals, I would rather have Zach Taylor.
Oh, you're nuts! You're insane.
I don't think you. Well, first of all, they almost always go offensive coaches, so I don't think they would have done that. But I saw what he did with the Jets. I'm like, and I know it's the Jets, so it's like you kind of.
I want you to just think about something when you say what he did with the Jets. He produced a consistent top 5 defense that completely has crumbled apart. Then he went to San Francisco and is doing this. Now think about Cincinnati and what you have offensively and pair that with a top 10.
We don't have the talent. The problem is once you pay.
Offensive. Wait, what are you talking about? They don't have the talent. Name me 6 San Francisco defensive starters this week.
No, what I'm saying.
I can't do it.
I'm saying for the Bengals. The Bengals have one of the worst defensive rosters. Especially
I get it, but bring in Robert Saleh. He brings in 3 or 4 random dudes. Dude, he is doing this in San Francisco this year with random dudes.
Once Warren went down, I thought they would suck.
Okay, this is what I'm saying. So you take Robert Saleh, you give Joe Burrow a top 10 defense. You give Joe Burrow a top 15 defense, and now you're talking.
But once you paid, I love our offense, obviously, but you can't pay 3 players max salaries. They're just not enough to go around. And and I don't know, maybe they weren't getting a whole lot of offers to trade
T. Higgins,
but
or Trey Hendrickson.
But dude, you just can't do it because you have to be able to fill the other side of the roster, and they basically just filled it with let's be honest, bottom salary type of guys or rookies. And it's just now every once in a while you're going to hit on rookies, and that's going to work for, we saw that with even the Bills when they kind of had to pay Josh Allen, and when the Chiefs had to pay, but then the Chiefs had to let the cheetah go.
But that's why it comes more on the coach. No, I disagree. I think Cincinnati absolutely needed a defensive.
I thought when Harbaugh got fired, I thought, oh shit, the Bengals might fire Zach Taylor, kind of like the Dolphins fired McDaniel, because they're like, shit. Hell, if we have a chance at freaking, but I guess he signed with the Giants, right?
He did. He signed with the Giants today. And again, I'm not a hot take artist. I think you know this about me. Harbaugh was not the best candidate. Clint Kubiak was the best candidate. Robert Saleh is the second best candidate. We can talk, and then maybe Harbaugh third. And I think Harbaugh is a good fit for the Giants because they need a culture change more than one of those other guys. That's why I think Mike McCarthy,
that's what he chose, because he basically could choose anybody. He could have got any job he wanted, and he chose that. Is that surprising? Because I thought South Beach, dude, this is
No, it's not a huge surprise because they have a tradition of winning. They have good young core of players, quarterback, running back, Neighbors, their left tackle, good defensive line. There's pieces in place on this. So no, I think that was definitely one of the more appealing jobs out of the ones that were open. I think it's a more appealing job than Miami, let's say, because Miami, you get into Miami.
I couldn't believe he even took the Atlanta. He took a meeting with Atlanta. I'm like, dude, why would you go to Atlanta? I thought the Raiders were interesting because I thought,
oh my God, no. Because Atlanta's the second best job.
Not that it was a good job, but I just thought if he wants to just rebuild from scratch, they have it. They have paying nobody. So it's you could trade Crosby.
But that's what I mean. You're a lot closer to being competitive with the Giants than you are with the Raiders. And same thing with Atlanta. That's why that Atlanta job is actually pretty good. You have one of the best offensive players in football, Bijan Robinson. You have Drake London, and you have a really good young defense. They have built up that defense. There's talent on that side of the ball. Atlanta's not very far away. You got to get and it's the South. You got to get the quarterback right, and that offensive line is aging. But Atlanta's not far away either. Those were the 2 jobs. Kevin Stefanski to Atlanta, I feel like they could be in the playoffs next year, type of thing. Or Clint Kubiak to Atlanta, I feel like they could be in the playoffs.
But it sounded like Mike McCarthy kind of had the Giants job wrapped up until the whole hardball thing. So I kind of wonder where's McCarthy, because he's a big name.
Tennessee. I think so. I think he'd be a good fit. Like, remember, they have an ownership change that's happened in the last couple of years too. So they need the same type of thing. They need a culture guy as much as they need an X's and O's guy. I think Mike McCarthy would be a great fit with Tennessee. Like, think what you want about Mike McCarthy as an in-game coach. All that guy's done is won. Anywhere he's been, he has won and won at a high level. That's not Tennessee Titans football, right? Like, I think I think McCarthy would be a much better fit and could do more good in a place like Tennessee than at like Miami or Atlanta or one of those other places.
I mean, for me, I'm thinking taxes and I'm thinking retirement at the age of Harbaugh and McCarthy, both of them. I'm like, dude, you go to South Beach. You go 5 or 6 years, then you retire, and you're freaking living.
Yeah, but you're in Florida. But you're still in Florida, dude. You're still in Florida.
Everywhere, but no taxes.
Never live in
Florida. And I also think Vegas is the same thing. No state taxes. And I'm like, dude, that would be. And we don't know yet, but Tom Brady and his buddy that are running things now, that are basically have the keys to the kingdom. We don't know if they're going to be good or bad, but we know there's going to be a lot of different things happening there now.
Early returns have not been good. Let's just say that. So, all right, I gotta get out of here. Let's go do some football.
All right, hey, everybody, football's released at 6 o'clock today.
6 Eastern.
Here's how you get in on it. First of all, take the free 60 right here. DocSports.com/free 60. You go in, you buy your favorite handicapper, you just pay an extra, my math, $39, and you get all their football plays. Now that will include NFL playoffs this weekend, and Monday is the national championship game. So you'll get all those. So make sure you get on. All right, guys, have a great day. Robert, thank you. See you again tomorrow.